Hi, dear listeners. Welcome to our podcast, which is called Why Should I Care? And my name is Agata Bartosik, and we will invite you to have a glimpse into the world where solutions outnumber the problems. And today we have a wonderful guest, Markus Raivio. Hi.
Nice to be here, and thanks for having me.
It's wonderful to have you. Markus came to see us from Finland. I understand you believe we should care about how people with mental illnesses or problems or challenges feel. Why should we care about that?
That's a great question, and I'm going to give you a broad answer. I'm a therapist in my first profession, so I should answer to you with a different question about that, but maybe I'll just...
Why not?
Why not? It's like, why not care for the people's mental health? But I think I'm going to just open up with two angles here. And the first one is that, should you care for yourself? Should you care for yourself and your mental health being? Because I think, as we believe these days, as the science-based approach to the mental health illnesses and mental health overall, is that mental health is something that is happening between you and me right now. It's not something in my brains or in some kind of neurochemical, biochemical construction, but it's right here. It's in our relationship. It's you and me. And that means actually that as we are building the condition of our mind, our mental health together, I should care about your mental health because it has everything to do with my mental health.
Right.
So if you don't really want to care about anything, I totally understand that, but you should care about yourself. Because as this interconnected world, we see that there's so many relations and everything connects. All the dots do connect one way or another. And if you, I'm not sure if you ever listened to this guy called Jarona Laniera. I think he was one of people who was making this virtual reality kind of. He's very critical about AI and stuff like that. So, but he has this concept of circle of empathy, and he's talking about that in our lives there are a certain amount of people, or maybe also animals, maybe something to do with nature also, that we should feel empathetic to, just for our own sakes also, because we understand that everything to do with you has everything to do with me. So he's promoting this idea that how big is your circle of empathy? If it's too narrow, maybe you will come to the conclusion that you think that you could be somehow on your own in this world. You could think that something should go first. You can say America first or Finland first, but how narrow can you take it? Can you say Warsaw first, and we shouldn't care about the rest of the Poland, as we know that everything that happens in Poland or in the neighbor countries or even globally has everything to do with us. So if you think about the circle of empathy approach, that there can also be problematic if your circle of empathy is too big. It's so big that you just cannot handle it. You cannot rescue the whole world. So you have to choose. You have to make some kind of selections. But as I have thought in my own personal point of view, is that I want to make it as broad as possible. Not just including my family, not including people close to me, not just including people from Finland, but I understand that people in Poland has everything to do what happens to me. And I think these days, as we see the war in your neighbor country, we do see that everything that has to do with Ukraine has to do with Helsinki in Finland. It has economical reasons, it has all the reasons that has everything to do with how I feel. So it's actually what we call selfish act of kindness, of being part of thinking about how Ukrainians feel and how our Ukrainians do. But there's also another aspect on this, and that is that if I have some kind of mission or some kind of meaning that I think it's important for me, helping people for some reason has everything to do with my own well-being. Have you heard of the term called helper's high?
Yes.
When you help someone and you feel yourself that something's happened to you, something's happening, something good, I can feel good about myself. It will take a couple of hours, and then you have to move on and find some other people to help. And that's quite addictive, actually. You really find that helping people has everything to do with your own well-being. So there's a lot of discussion about, is altruism actually always a little bit selfish? There's always some kind of benefit for me for doing good for others. And there's this philosopher called Zizek. Have you ever read about Zizek? He's a good guy, I think. He's a very clever guy. And he's always saying that there is no altruism without your own benefits. And he thinks that only actually things in life that doesn't have any benefits are envy. That doesn't have any kind of benefits for anyone. But altruism has benefits for you too. And that's also a little bit approach about me being individual, or am I being part of some kind of bigger picture here, bigger of some kind of community.
On one hand, it's an insurance policy.
Kind of.
Like if other people feel well, the world is going to be better, and I am in this world, so it's fine. And then the other part is this altruist junkie part, right?
Yeah, altruist junkie is a
like
great
you
word.
have this natural high that comes from feeling of agency, and I totally know what you're talking about. It's like it actually does give you the feeling of joy and excitement and fulfillment.
And fulfillment, definitely.
So there are at least two reasons. One is because it does influence you and your life, and the second is because you can actually make yourself feel better.
Yeah, so why should you care about yourself? This is the first question. It's like, if you want to do something, think about if all the people surrounding you would feel awful. What do you think is going to happen to you?
Yeah.
So that's a good reason to help people. But sometimes it can go a little bit too far that you forget to take care of yourself. So you have to have some kind of balance in between this helping. Somebody was calling it a helping business, but it's not a business really. It's more of a approach to life. Also something that if you really want to feel meaningful in your life, if you think about the teachers and nurses, I don't think they're going to do that for money.
No.
They're not going to be millionaires. There has to be some kind of different kind of drive on it. And I think the altruism and giving an impact, changing people's lives, leaving a good mark when the time is coming for us, when you're 80 years old and looking back to your life, think about what kind of things did you do. You're thinking about, okay, I think I helped this and this and this.
I think I didn't waste the time that I had.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a very good point. I'm not even going to push you anymore. So, okay. So let's, hopefully the listeners are convinced we should care because it's beneficial for us and for the whole world. So what do you do, Markus? What is your work about? What does Kukunori do? Because that's the team you work with.
Yeah, that's the team I work with right now. Yes. Well, I've been thinking about who I am and what I do every day, I think, but I'm really wanting to make some kind of change. And that's the basics of it. And I've been doing ideation of change for the last 25 years now, in different kind of approaches, different kind of organizations. And now when I have established my own NGO called Kukunori, which is the Central Association for Culture and Well-being, we see culture as a really broad aspect. It's not just music and arts or drama. It's how we behave to each other. It's about, culture. How do we interact to what was the company culture like? What's under the surface over there? That's culture as well. but also everything to do with well-being. So what I do, I think, as a director of Kukunori now, is just finding new ideas, finding to do something different. I would say that would be Kukunori's main strategy. Do something different. If you have to do something similar, try to do it differently somehow.
So, but I understand that the initial idea was around persons with mental health issues, right?
Yeah, I've been working in mental health for 25 years now. I started as a practical nurse, and then I studied music therapy, and from that I went to become a project manager and a project director, and then the director of the zone. And I think the mental health part has been something that has been somehow affecting my whole life. I have a really rough childhood myself, and there's a lot of people in my close circle of empathy that has a lot of things to do with substance abuse and mental health challenges, severe challenges. So I always thought that there was something to find, something new to find. If you really look at the history of how we have been doing mental health work for the last 100 years, it hasn't changed that much, actually. It has gone better, but there's a lot of assumptions from 100 years ago. What should we do with mental health challenges? And I think one of the things that really goes beyond right now is that we don't even see mental health as a positive word anymore. It sounds like some kind of sickness, but it's mental health. We all have it.
You're right.
It's not a problem.
That's a very good point. If you say mental health, you immediately think problems.
You definitely, first thing you think, it has to have some kind of problem.
Mental health.
Yeah, but we do have a mental health, and that's something that really moves us, and it's a power, it's a skill, it's something that keeps us going also. So that's been such an adventure to be in that field. I always loved music, and I love psychology, psychiatry. So I was very fortunate to be trained as a psychoanalytical, psychodynamic therapist, which I'm very far away from these days. I have changed my point of view on these matters a lot. So I think there's so much to do. There's so much, and it's such a huge challenge. It's such a huge topic. There's like 700 million people suffering from mental health challenges in this world. And we do know, everybody knows that you cannot get the therapist for everybody. So you have to find something new. Somehow people supporting each other, somehow changing the culture where we are, what kind of environment we are living, and really seeing the new generation and how they react to everything. And it's such a fascinating field to work with.
Okay, so I need to ask this question because it was something that when I talk about what you do, like your initial idea of the culture, you call it culture houses, but it's like culture circles or culture communities. I remember you told me this really interesting thing about Ramones.
Yeah.
Can you please tell that story? It's a good story.
Well, I'm an old punk rocker, so that's the basis of it. But we're just having these ideas, thinking about how can we support these people. And we just found out that giving your focus on what works is such an effective way to work with these people. And if you have any kind of skills that you would like to share, please do it. And maybe that can give this actually goes back to your first question, if you know a skill, we will train you to be the tutor of the group of whatever subject is important to you, what is meaningful to you. And maybe you can find your community of common interests with common skills. And you don't have to be alone anymore, because mental health has everything to do with loneliness and isolation and getting separated from the communities that you should be part. So the Ramones thing is actually that there was this guy who came to this first culture house. He was the biggest the Ramones fan, and he was saying, "I would love to build up this Ramones group that plays only Ramones songs, but he didn't know anything about guitar. So I was like, okay, it's going to take you about 3 hours. I'm going to show you 3 chords. 3 chords, yes. I said, yeah, there's about 150 the Ramones songs that you can do with 3 chords. And you can take the guitar group to the totally different level. And after 2 years, if you get bored to the 3 chords, I promise to show you the 4th one.
Did it work?
It worked really well.
So how many groups like this do you have now in Finland?
Yeah, I think the usual culture house has about 25 functional groups, also all just conducted by mental health clients to each other. And that's the idea. It's what we call functional peer support. It's peer support because people are doing things together, but it's not about disease-based kind of dialogue. It's more about doing, you know. The first culture house was named Elvis. And we got the song.
I wonder why.
Yeah, do you remember the song called A Little Less Conversation, A Little More Action? And that was the idea of the culture house, Elvis.
This is brilliant.
Let's stop talking about mental health and all our suffering, and let's just try to do something despite of everything that we've gone through, and we still do.
So what do culture groups do apart from playing?
Well, that's a good question, because do you know what playing is such a great thing in life, isn't it? How much do you want to play? We should all play.
Definitely.
We should all have some kind of a love for what we do. That's playing, you know. Loving is playing, actually. It's everything to do with like Italians would say, amor, you know. You love something and you do it. It's not your profession, it's your hobby, but you find the connections between people. You find the aspect of hope of what we're going to do together. Maybe we're going to have a concert, maybe like an event or art exhibition or something. But it also has everything to do with the meaning of your life, that
right.
You're giving something about the altruism that we were talking. It's actually the same guy that used to get this Ramones group going on. He had a second group also, and it was a joke group. He just he said he's gonna tell jokes to his group, and they were just learning different kind of jokes, and they would just laugh, and we were just gonna have fun. What a perfect idea!
It's a
perfect mental
idea.
health work, isn't it? And this guy was just telling these jokes, and one time he was thinking that, you know, when I teach a joke to 5 persons, and those 5 persons tell a joke to the next 5 persons, and they tell the joke to the next 5 persons, that makes me immortal.
It does, doesn't it?
That gives, you know, giving so much joy and laughter to others was something that was very healing to him, because the identity of being a schizophrenic was not something that he saw as an empowerment, but, you know, giving this kind of laughter and joy to others was.
That's brilliant. I really like that. Okay, so you have around 17,000 people?
Yeah, we have like 43 member organizations. So through them, there's like 17,000 people suffering from mental health challenges that I think usually culture houses, there's about 21 culture houses now in Finland.
But they don't have to be like literal houses.
No, it doesn't have to. There's like
network,
online culture house, or there can be, we have one culture house in prison, inside the open prison of Helsinki. Or we can have a women-centric culture house. There are different kind of things, but they're not like houses. They can actually meet in public places, like in museums or libraries or in youth facilities. It doesn't have to be a house anywhere. But usually there's a room, like maybe, you know, some kind of two or 3 rooms, so where these peer tutors can come together and you know, plan the group and making some marketing about the new chess group is starting next week Tuesday, and how we're going to build that. So it's all about the training program for the peer tutors. That's actually the most efficient thing to do. There has to be some kind of structures. You cannot say to someone that okay, now you're a tutor of the gym group. It's going to take like 3 times, and he's not going to be in the gym group himself because he needs some support for that, and really giving that guidance and the training really gets that thing going. And we were so amazed when we started 2009, and after 1 year, about 60% of the young people were applying for jobs and applying for school,
which they didn't do before.
Definitely no. There was actually people who already had like permanent pensions. Mm-hmm. But for some
60%.
60%, yeah. That was amazing, and it's so odd that we didn't market ourselves as a mental health institution anyway. We didn't even talk about mental health, and for some reason we did the best mental health work ever.
And I hear you're now also in the country in Africa. Where is that?
Yeah, we're scaling now. There's a cultural houses in Sweden, and also now we have a new project with Making More Health program. We are building culture houses in Kenya, which is a very different kind of environment than Finland. We have somehow managed to get some kind of welfare state in Finland. There's a lot of facilities, but now we are in Nairobi, Mukuru slum area. And building a culture house over there. But people are the same everywhere, they're so, and I just love that they don't have that old kind of psychiatry kind of approach at all. So there was many things were easier to go to that kind of environment than in Finland, where we are very, very, let's say psychodynamic based, or maybe even biochemical based still, and it was easier to go there because the culture was in them in the first place, and they knew everything about supporting each other because there was no one else who supports them. So it's really interesting to go there. So now I'm just training 8 employees. Some people are living in Wubue, some in Eldoret in the countryside, somebody in the Victoria Lakes places. 4 NGOs working with this, and it's been amazing.
That's brilliant. Amazing. But I actually, one of the things that I really love about what you do is that, it's kind of, well, first of all, I think it is quite cost effective.
It is.
Doesn't seem like a very expensive solution, or is it?
It's very, very inexpensive because, there's only 2 people, actually employees working for culture houses, and then there could be 12 peer tutors, and then there could be like 200 participants. So it's a very cost effective. And also if we use something from the public spaces, co-spaces, it's very effective way to do mental health work. But usually if you think about these models like peer support, it's very inexpensive. If you think about like AA meetings, there's like an organization called AA which influences like hundreds of millions of people, and there's nobody working there.
That's true.
There's no CEOs, no communication, no managers or administrative people. There's just people who have these 12 rules.
Yeah. And
they're just meeting.
And supporting each other.
And hands down, it's the most effective way to deal with alcoholism ever.
That's true. That's true. This is incredible. We know what you're doing. We know why we should care. And the last part of this conversation is, what can each one of us do? And I think, after the conversation we had, the question could be, I think these are 2 questions. So what can each one of us do to take care of our own mental health? And then the second question would be, what can each one of us do to make the life of people who suffer from some mental challenges easier?
I think it's so much different to talk about people with paranoid schizophrenia or some severe psychotic symptoms that we can, that if you're just talking about taking good care of your mental health.
Of course.
I think it's a skill thing, you know, it's something that you take care of yourself, routines, balance of eating and sleep. Everybody knows this. They're not like puzzles here. But I think you should try one more thing, and that's about doing something good for someone else. And I will give this one exercise, if you will. We have been doing this with my wife now for a while. So what we do is take your phone and think about some person. And when you get that person in your mind, put a text message that said, "Hi, I'm thinking about good things about you right now." And just send it. And then write down, how did it feel? Just
for
sending
yourself.
It. For yourself. Just sending it. How did it feel? Was it scary, like, oh, what is he gonna think about, you know? Or was it like, maybe he will answer something? Maybe what kind of answer will I get? Or did I get an answer at all? But I'm just doing this little spontaneous, it's not my obligation, it's not my responsibility. I just want to do some kind of act of kindness to someone and see how it feels. And if you find it that makes you feel good mood, then take another person, and someone that you don't know that well, or you knew like 20 years ago, or even someone that you don't like that much, and see what's going on.
That's the next level.
Yeah, there's like levels on this. It's like a computer game. So that would be the easiest, and at the same time, the most hardest one to do.
This is brilliant. Thank you so much, Markus. This is really wonderful. It was wonderful having you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, dear listeners, now you know what you should do. Take your mobile and text someone. Level 1, someone you really like. Level 2, someone you don't know that much. Level 3, someone you're not so much positive about. And then there are next levels, but for that you will have to listen more of our podcasts. Thank you for being with us, Markus. And obviously, if you want to know a little bit more about how we understand culture, because you actually did talk that culture is so much more than just music, etc., I strongly recommend the podcast where I talked to Massimo Valatti, where he talks about the culture of football and how changing the culture of the game can change our culture in general to be more inclusive and more democratic. So, thank you so much. My name is Agata Stafi-Bartosik. This is your favorite Why Should I Care podcast. It's produced by Anna Ślusarenka, and our fact checker is Anita Głowacka. So you will find the books and the poems that Markus was talking about in links in the description of this episode. Thank you.
All the best.